Hello, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. So today I thought I'd talk a wee bit about something that I shared on my page this week. Um, it was one of these parody things that somebody sent me. I think it's a song from Frozen, and it's basically talking about um, how we compare ourselves to other people, and in particular to all the things that we see now on social media. So I'll put a wee link to the actual wee video itself because it was very funny. But it's also, I think, very true. I think obviously we tend to compare ourselves to other people anyway, but even more so now, I think, with the advent of social media and things like Instagram and these very visual medias where we're constantly seeing pictures of, so-called perfect lives. I always talk about the Facebook fake life is what I tend to call it, because actually, it's interesting if you look at these things, because my sort of thoughts on it is see if you're out having that amazing a time, why are you posting it all over Facebook? If that's your is that your first thought when you're out having this amazing time, is that you want to put it in social media? Now I appreciate that's maybe partly a generational thing. And obviously I'm not no spring chicken these days, and I'm sure for young people that is how they think. And I know certainly my son tends to take a picture of lots of things that would never occur to me to share on social media. So it's partly obviously a generational thing, but nonetheless, the issue we're talking about here is comparing ourselves to other people. And in the wee video, it talks about the perfect kitchen and how they need this new thing and this, I want this and I want that and I want all my cupboards arranged and all these sort of funny things that we might aspire to. And while these are obviously minor things, and it isn't that big a deal if someone's got their kitchen labelling better organised than you, but like we talked about before, it's all how all the little things add up, and it's that constant comparison of, oh, they've got that, or they've got this new car, and they've gone on this fancy holiday, and their kids are out doing this amazing thing, and their kids are always well behaved, and here they are doing this fabulous thing, and they've got this another new bit here, and look how perfect their home is, and they're off here, there, and everywhere. And it's comparing ourselves to that. Well, they must be making more money than me. They're more successful than me. They've got a better relationship than me. They're healthier than me. They're fitter than me. They're thinner than me, or whatever the other thing is. And that's sending messages to your brain constantly that things all is not well with you, that you're not good enough as you are, and therefore that things are not great, that life is not good, and that you're not safe and secure in your body, in the life you're in. And as we've talked about before, the brain perceives all these things, all these minor insignificant things, as signs of danger, of signs that that's danger sounds a bit harsh, but time that all is not well. And if you think we're talking about this part of the brain is way back to our early primitives type brain, so it doesn't differentiate between the fact that you're feeling a bit insecure that your neighbour has a new whatever kitchen, to you feeling a bit insecure that your neighbour in the next cave actually has a bigger spear and is going to be able to kill more food than you, and therefore will survive better than your family. It comes down to that same thing. The brain doesn't differentiate. So while that's quite obviously seems a bit extreme and there's no comparison, your neighbour having a new kitchen isn't going to stop you surviving. Your brain doesn't know that. Your primitive brain just perceives that as, oh, well, that means you're not striving, you're not doing as well, you're there for not as safe, and you're not going to survive. Okay, obviously in reality you're going to survive your neighbour having a new kitchen, or your friend going on a fancy holiday, or whatever it may be. But the point of all this waffling on that I'm saying is that this constant comparison that we tend to do can perpetuate and actually lead to having persistent symptoms of pain and other chronic symptoms that we can develop. So the thing is to think of yourself as being good enough as you are. And I know that's very simple. And again, it kind of goes against what we were taught and what we probably teach our own young people, is to strive for the best and do your best and progress and, always be trying to push yourself forward. And that's fine. But it's recognizing that every day you're doing the best you can on that day, in that situation, because some days are just better than others. And there's always going to be somebody with more things than you. But bear in mind that other people look at your life and think, my God, if only I had what you had, if only I had that job, that home, that partner, that child, that dog, that holiday, that whatever it is that you've got, there's always someone looking at you going, oh, what I wouldn't give for that. So we're never going to achieve that. We're never going to have everything we want, because there's always going to be somebody with something bigger and better, perceiving that they have a more perfect life than us. But in reality, they don't. You know, in reality, these, as we know deep down, these social media lives are not nonsense, and they're cherry picking the nice bits, not sharing real life, not sharing reality. You know, that perfect kitchen that you see with everything all organised, 2 seconds later, the kids come in and spill something all over the floor, the dog comes in and shakes its muddy fur everywhere, or the partners are arguing, or your lasagna drops off the floor, or whatever it is. You know, it's not perfect either. There's no such thing as perfect. But by doing that comparison and putting ourselves down in that, because that's effectively what we're doing, by saying, oh, I wish I had what they have. Why do I not have? Why do I? You're putting yourself down. And there's no need to do that. So by all means, you know, strive for things and aim high and do what you want to do, but recognize what you've got and recognize what you're achieving, and recognize that you're comparing yourself to, not to reality. You're comparing yourself to the Facebook fantasy. It's not real life at the end of the day. But most importantly, by constantly doing that, you're sending messages to your brain that you're not safe and that all is not well. And that's the opposite of what we're trying to do if we're trying to resolve persistent and chronic symptoms, because we need to let the brain know that all is okay and all is well and you're safe as you are. So as I say, it might seem a bit of an odd link between the Funny Bee parody and messages of danger or safety or whatever to your brain. But it's actually, we found that, and we'll talk more in our videos about how different characteristics, different personal characteristics predispose us to having these symptoms. But feeling that you're not good enough is a very important one, and that can come from, you know, when you're young, a parent or a teacher or a sibling or whoever is always saying, oh, you'll never be able to do that, you're not good, no, why do you not do better, and all that. That can be instilled from quite an early age. And again, something we need to be mindful with our own young people is that we're not putting that in place. It's finding the balance of encouraging to do well, encouraging to achieve the things you want to achieve, without constantly saying that's, well, what you've done isn't good enough, because what you're doing is absolutely good enough. Okay, so I say a bit of a light-hearted wee parody for you to have a look at, but a more serious kind of note behind it is just to keep in mind that this constantly comparing ourselves and wanting these things and looking at other people's life as if they're much better than ours is just reinforcing messages to your brain that you're not safe. Okay, so as always, if that brings anything up, give me a wee shout, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.